Tonight, new evidence that a Muslim cleric born in America played a key role in the airline bombing plot. And the president receives the first report about the many missed clues that might have stopped it. I'm Jeff Glor. Also tonight, mourning at the CIA. One of the deadliest attacks in the agency's history is carried out by an Afghan who is invited onto a U.S. base without being searched. For better or worse, the recession is keeping more couples together.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Good evening. Katie's off tonight. He has been linked to some of the 9/11 hijackers and the Fort Hood shooting suspect. Tonight, there is more. Authorities believe American-born cleric Anwar alAwlaki played an important role in the plot to blow up Flight 253 on Christmas Day. He is believed to have met the bombing suspect in Yemen in the months leading up to the attack. Our justice correspondent Bob Orr has been investigating this story from the start. He joins us from Washington this evening. Bob?
Jeff, intelligence sources now tell us that U.S.-born cleric Anwar alAwlaki is emerging as a key player in that Christmas Day attack. As one official puts it, the radical imam is right in the middle of this.
U.S. officials say Anwar alAwlaki has operated around the fringes of al-Qaeda for nearly a decade. He counseled 3 of the 9/11 hijackers, and earlier this year traded a series of internet messages with accused Fort Hood gunman Major Nidal Hassan. After the shootings, alAwlaki praised Hassan as a hero. The imam has always denied terror ties, holding himself out as a spiritual counselor to Muslims.
There's always this association between Islam and terrorism, when that is not true at all. I mean, Islam is a religion of peace.
But intelligence sources say evidence shows alAwlaki is now a significant part of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, and he has recently become more of an operations guy. In the months before the attempted bombing of Northwest Flight 253, sources say alAwlaki and the suspect Umar Farouk Abdulmutallab had communications, and Abdulmutallab told federal investigators that he met face-to-face with alAwlaki in Yemen as part of his indoctrination. Investigators, though, still can't say exactly how big of a role alAwlaki played in the plot. And Abdulmutallab, who was talkative right after his arrest, has now stopped cooperating. But sources say the suspect has already provided a wealth of intelligence. Abdulmutallab says he got the explosives in Yemen and said he knew of no other planned attacks. But the suspect says he was isolated from other brothers while training in Yemen to keep him from knowing too much about other al-Qaeda operatives and other potential plots. While most of his story so far has checked out, sources say some of the names of associates that he's provided have turned out to be aliases.
While Abdulmutallab recovers from his burns in a federal lockup, alAwlaki remains free. But make no mistake, he is now a marked man. An airstrike apparently just missed him last week. Intelligence officials now say they believe he has survived. Jeff?
But, Bob, the suspect Abdulmutallab here, he was talking a lot at first, and now all of a sudden he's not. Why the change?
Well, the short answer to that is he now has a lawyer and he's being very careful. It's not unusual for terror suspects to talk at first. I will say, though, that investigators were really struck by how expansive he was. And on that point, there seemed to be 2 schools of thought. One, he was nervous, not fully indoctrinated as a full-fledged terrorist, and he was intimidated. But the other belief, what most people believe, is that he wanted to make it clear that he was a real player. He was intent on carrying out real jihad. Sources say, in fact, he sounded a little bit like he was bragging. Jeff?
All right, Bob, we're in Washington tonight. Bob, thank you. CBS News has obtained a copy of Abdulmutallab's passport. He used it along with a U.S. visa to board Flight 253 in Amsterdam. Today, the president received the first report on the security failures leading up to the Christmas Day attack. Our Chip Reed is in Honolulu, where the president is spending the holidays. And Chip, this is not the vacation the president planned, is it?
It is not, Jeff. He had hoped to spend this vacation recharging his batteries, but now he appears to be spending most of it working. For New Year's Eve, he'll be reviewing nearly a dozen new reports from Homeland Security agencies, all part of a massive effort to figure out what went wrong.
The reports are from an alphabet soup of federal agencies, including the CIA, NSA, FBI, and TSA. Officials say the president has immersed himself in the details of the review and that individuals will be held accountable. But the top priority now is to make sure it doesn't happen again. To that end, Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano is dispatching a team of officials to Africa, Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and South America to review passenger screening on U.S.-bound flights. Enhanced security procedures already ordered by the president on those flights include increased pat-downs and bag checks, more air marshals, and more bomb-sniffing dogs. Officials have also updated the list of more than 500,000 potential terrorists, moving some up to the no-fly list. The preliminary findings are also focusing on some serious security breakdowns. Conversations were intercepted months ago about a Nigerian in Yemen involved in a terrorist plot, but the dots were never connected to warnings by a prominent Nigerian to U.S. officials that his son had become dangerously radicalized in Yemen. Agencies even failed to pull the man's U.S. travel visa, a flaw in the system the State Department says it has now closed. Today, Director of National Security Dennis Blair had a chilling warning to the intelligence community about the more cunning attacks of the future that are being designed to circumvent U.S. defenses. He said they are doing so right now, even as you are reading this message. Meanwhile, Republicans are accusing the president of being slow and weak in his response. Former Vice President Dick Cheney said, "We are at war, and when President Obama pretends we aren't, it makes us less safe." The White House fired back that the president fully understands the danger, but doesn't need to beat his chest to prove it.
The president returns to Washington Monday. On Tuesday, he'll meet at the White House with the heads of all the Homeland Security agencies, the next step in trying to fix a flawed system for protecting the American people. Jeff?
Chip, the president talks about holding people accountable for the problems here. Any indication someone will be fired or dismissed?
Well, advisors here keep saying, yes, somebody will be held accountable, but they don't want to get sidetracked into the blame game now. First, they want to try to fix what went wrong so it doesn't happen again. Jeff?
All right, Chip Reed in Hawaii tonight. Chip, thank you. CBS News was first to report State Department officials had no idea Abdulmutallab had a U.S. visa while he was on a watch list. Today, we learned the department is making some changes to ensure that doesn't happen again. Embassies will now be required to flag anyone on a watch list who also holds a visa. Now to Afghanistan. Tonight, there are startling new facts about the suicide attack that killed 7 CIA officers. A tremendous loss for the agency. This happened yesterday at a base near Khost, not far from the Pakistani border. As David Martin reports tonight, the attacker was invited to enter that base, and he was not searched.
The flag at CIA headquarters flew at half-staff today for 7 of its own. Director Leon Panetta said they died far from home and close to the enemy. Too close, it turned out. An Afghan informant was brought onto the base without any of the searches that would have detected explosives. He walked up to where more than a dozen CIA operatives had gathered for a meeting and detonated his suicide vest. According to former CIA counterterrorism chief Robert Grenier, it was the Taliban equivalent of a precision-guided weapon.
The fact that this individual apparently penetrated as deeply on that base as he did, the fact that he was able to get access to the individuals that he did, suggests that this was not only his intent, but that there must have been some sort of a trusted relationship with that individual.
The CIA is keeping the identity secret, but one of the dead, the base chief, was a mother of 3. 6 other agency employees were gravely wounded. Located on the border with Pakistan, Camp Chapman was used as a base for recruiting spies who, according to former CIA officer Gary Burnson, would be sent to pinpoint targets for commando raids and airstrikes.
Collection would take place on both sides of the border in an effort to identify, leadership targets within the Taliban and, key al-Qaeda targets.
Officials credit the base with providing some of the intelligence which has enabled CIA drone strikes to eliminate much of al-Qaeda's top leadership. It is a vicious game in which anyone suspected of spying for the Americans is executed. And someone forgot the most basic rule of espionage.
You can never be sure that you can trust anyone. And the individual that you can trust today, you may not be able to trust tomorrow.
With 7 dead and 6 wounded, that base is now knocked out of action until the CIA can send in a new team of operatives. Jeff?
So, David, if the base is out of action for now, how exactly important was this base when they were using it?
Well, it's only one of many bases, and you can send in a new team fairly quickly. But that new team has to recontact all the agents the base had been running and reestablish new relationships with them, and that will take time.
All right, David Martin in Washington. David, thank you. President Obama has sent tens of thousands of additional U.S. troops to Afghanistan since taking office, and that has led to more combat deaths. At least 305 U.S. troops were killed in Afghanistan this year. That is nearly double last year's death toll. Today, a federal judge in Washington dismissed all charges against 5 Blackwater security guards involved in a deadly shooting 2 years ago in Iraq. The 5 were accused of killing 17 unarmed Iraqi civilians at a Baghdad intersection. Iraq's government wanted to try the men in Baghdad, but the U.S. refused. Today, the judge said prosecutors blew the case, calling their evidence, quote, contradictory and lacking in credibility. Still ahead on the CBS Evening News. Are empty wallets leading to fuller hearts for America's married couples? From CBSMoneyWatch.com, some mixed up numbers on the economy as we wrap up 2009. Unemployment is at 10%, more than 3 points higher than a year ago. The median price of a home in the U.S. is $173,000. That is nearly $9,000 less than last year. However, the Dow had its best year since 2003, closing today above 10,400, up 19% for the year. For married couples, the rough economy can really test that vow to stay together, for richer, for poorer. But actually, as Sandra Hughes shows us tonight, fewer Americans are getting divorced these days.
When the Levine family remodeled their suburban Los Angeles home, the family of 4 was on a winning streak.
My career started taking off.
Then, 10 months ago, Mark lost his job as an insurance executive. Emily had to go to work full-time as an occupational therapist.
I'd say it's been stressful.
They began to argue.
The most difficult is trying to decide whether or not I need to make a change in my career plans.
You were really worried that she might leave?
I would say that it's crossed my mind a couple times.
Like the Levines, experts point to role reversal. Men suddenly at home and women back to work is a major divorce risk factor. It's happening more and more since 75% of job losses in this recession have been shouldered by men. But the Levines have held on.
We needed to put the financial issues behind us and focus on our family.
And they aren't alone. Call it the silver lining of the recession. Last year, in the 44 states reporting data, the divorce rate dropped to its lowest point in 30 years. There were almost 20,000 fewer divorces in 2008 than 2007.
Some folks have seen a dramatic decline in the value of their home, and so they're really waiting until their home values rebound before they head to divorce court. But I also think, too, that the recession can lead to a new sense of togetherness.
And while it's hard to ignore the high-profile divorces, experts at the University of Virginia Marriage Project say, for the rest of us, the statistics show marriage in America is becoming more stable. As Americans tighten their belts and pay down credit card debt, marriage experts say the stress relief made for happier couples. The Levines weathered their crisis with the support of family. Lucky for them, Mark's sister is a marriage therapist.
They're figuring, here we are, we're together, times are tough. Let's try and reconnect and bring back some of what we had when we first met.
Now they have fewer dinners out and more family game nights at home. And as tough as it's been,
It allowed us to fall deeper in love with each other and our children.
Realizing if they can get through this, they can get through just about anything. Sandra Hughes, CBS News, Sherman Oaks, California.
Many Americans, married or single, are happy to welcome in the new year. A poll out today says 38% believe 2009 was a bad year for their families, but 82% of Americans are optimistic about what 2010 will bring. The new year is well underway in Taiwan tonight. At midnight, fireworks erupted from Taipei 101, which is currently the world's tallest building. The whole skyline of Hong Kong lit up as 2010, the year of the tiger, arrived in China. St. Basil's Cathedral in Moscow was glowing for Russia's biggest holiday of the year. And in Paris, the Eiffel Tower lit up the City of Lights. And that is the CBS Evening News tonight. For Katie Couric, I'm Jeff Glor. Thanks for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night as well. We leave you now with a look at New York's Times Square, already jammed with people. Police expect 1 million there to watch the ball drop as we begin 2010. From all of us at CBS News, Happy New Year.
Absolutely looking forward to it. You know, one of our popular traditions here